This is one of those videos, I don't even know how I'm going to approach this thing, but I'm really excited to get to talk about one of the best movies of all time. Continuing with the Star Wars movies, here's Empire Strikes Back. So The Empire Strikes Back was the second Star Wars movie. It was released in 1980, and this is the fifth movie chronologically in the Star Wars series, well, sixth if you count Rogue One. And just like my review of Star Wars, if you don't know the plot of Empire Strikes Back, spoilers are about to happen. But Empire Strikes Back, I think like a lot of people, is my favorite Star Wars movie. It completely changed the game with sequels. It's one of the best sequels of all time. This is the movie where it's like, if you ever see a second movie in a series that's better than the first, or just a really good second movie, whether we're talking The Dark Knight, The Two Towers, Dawn for the Planet of the Apes, Catching Fire, X-Men 2, Spider-Man 2, Desolation of Smaug, all of those movies you'll hear people say, oh, that's like the Empire Strikes Back of the series. So the way Star Wars ends is great. You know, Han and Luke, they get their medals for saving Leia, they blow up the Death Star. But when episode 5 starts out, the rebels are already in a terrible spot. The Empire is hunting them down for destroying the Death Star. All the while, Darth Vader is trying to find Luke Skywalker. And Darth Vader in this movie, Darth Vader was really cool in the first movie. You don't see a lot of him, but you feel like you saw a lot of him just because his presence is so strong. In this movie, Vader gets fleshed out even more. He is like obsessed with Luke in this movie. And whenever he walks on the screen, you get the sense if he's just like, all right, everyone in this rebellion is gonna bow at my feet or you're all gonna get skinned alive. So the rebels are hanging out on their hidden base of Hoth, and Luke is out there, he's riding on this tauntaun, and then he gets attacked by a Wampa. He's freezing to death. However, when he's in the Wampa cave, there's this really awesome scene where you can see Luke has grown since the last movie. And it's when he's hanging upside down in the cave and he sees his lightsaber down on the ground. He's like trying to reach it, and then for a second he just pauses, he quiets his mind, and then he just uses the force, and the lightsaber flies to him, and he slices the Wampa's arm off, and he just hauls it out of that cave. The sound, the music, the directing of that scene is all just so perfect. Han finds Luke, takes him back to the base, and now we have the Battle of Hoth. Now, one of the interesting things about The Empire Strikes Back is that at the end of the movie, it doesn't exactly have a big space battle like Star Wars and Jedi do. The big centerpiece battle of the movie, that is at the beginning in the Battle of Hoth. And this scene's amazing, especially the special effects in the entire movie, but this scene in particular still hold up today. I love watching behind the scenes stuff on the Battle of Hoth, watching them with these little like model X-Wings on the blue screens and blowing stuff up. Being able to merge all those ship shots with the stop motion of the AT-AT walkers and the shots of the different X-Wing pilots and Luke running on the ground, swinging his lightsaber at the AT-AT. It's all perfect. It's one of my favorite battles in the Star Wars series. And what's great is while this battle is at the beginning of the movie doesn't peak here. It keeps getting better, which is amazing because probably any other movie would peak here. But the rebels get crushed. They have to leave their base on Hoth. Luke gets a vision from Obi-Wan who tells him, hey, there's this Jedi Master named Yoda. He's in the Dagobah system. You have to go find him. He's the guy that trained me. Yeah, apparently he was trained by Yoda, not Qui-Gon. This guy's gonna help you complete your training, so go find him. So that's what Luke does. He takes R2-D2 and they go off to the Dagobah system to go find Yoda. All the while, Han, Leia, Chewie, and C-3PO, they're fleeing the Empire, trying to find a safe place to land. And I like how our two parties are separated for the majority of the movie, because there's really only one scene in this movie where all three of our main characters are together. A lot of sequels will find ways to kind of force everybody together again, but with Empire, they have two separate stories going on the entire time, and it's great because both stories are really awesome. Han, Leia, and Chewie's whole thing, when they're fleeing the Empire, they go into this asteroid field. One of the greatest special effects scenes of all time. The music in there by John Williams, it's freaking perfect. I mean, like when they go in there, C-3PO's all freaking out. He's like, sir, the odds of surviving an asteroid field are 3,057 to 1. Han tells him, never tell me the odds. Leia's all, you're not actually going in there, are you? They'd be crazy to follow us, wouldn't they? And they just build up the whole scene, and the entire thing, they're just weaving through this asteroid field. While that great music is playing, it's all bum 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 bum, and there is kind of a slow moment in there when they're camping out on this asteroid field because they're trying to make repairs to the Falcon. But that's when you really get to see Han and Leia's relationship grow, and this is the movie where they really start to get close to each other. Han's putting on those smuggler charms like, you know you're crazy about me. There's that sweet scene when it's like an engine room or something like that, but Han and Leia are together. It's when they have their first kiss. The music in there is, again, perfection. The acting by Harrison Ford and Carrie Fisher, perfect. You're gonna hear me say that a lot in this review, like, this scene was perfect, this scene was perfect. The Empire Strikes Back has a couple scenes where it's not just one of my favorite moments in Star Wars, it's one of my favorite moments in movie history. So while Han and Leia are all hanging out on the asteroid, Luke goes with R2-D2, they go to the Dagobah system, they're looking for Yoda, and they find this little green Muppet, and they're like, who is this guy? He's being all squirrely, like, ooh, help you I can. He's being a pain in the butt, stealing Luke's food, and if I were Luke, I'd be getting annoyed at him too. They get back to the thing hut, and Luke's like, this is a waste of time, where's Yoda? But then he quiets down, and then you realize, oh, this is Yoda. He's all, not ready, are you? That's one of a couple scenes in this movie where you could tell Luke has grown since Star Wars, but the guy's not ready to become a Jedi in the slightest. And so Luke is off training with Yoda. There's a lot of really cool scenes. You learn a lot of cool Star Wars lore in that time. A lot of cool stuff about the light side, the dark side, the Force as a whole. There's a scene when they come across this cave, and Luke's like, what's inside of that cave? And there's just a lot of dark energy surrounding it. Yoda tells him, like, don't bring your lightsaber in there. You won't need it. Luke doesn't listen. He takes his lightsaber in, he walks straight in there, and then he encounters Darth Vader. And for a second, you're like, whoa, what's Darth Darth Vader doing here? Luke fights him, then he wins, he blows his head off. That's when you kind of realize that it's all an illusion in the cave. And then the mask explodes and you see Luke's face inside of there. And it's really cool. It's some awesome foreshadowing that goes on. And Yoda just looks at him again and is like, you failed. But one of my favorite moments in movie history happens right here when Luke is training with Yoda. They're trying to lift Luke's X-Wing out of the water, and Luke is trying to use the Force, to get it up, but he can't. And then he goes up to Yoda, he sits down all exhausted, he's like, I can't do it. It's too big. Yoda goes up to him and he says, size matters not. Look at me. Judging me by my size, do you? Sorry for the terrible Yoda impression, by the way. But then Yoda tells him, my ally is the Force, a powerful ally it is. You must feel the Force around you, in the trees, the rocks. The music playing in that scene also was absolute perfection. That was the scene for me, where you saw Luke and Obi-Wan use the Force prior to this. But it was more like, yeah, the Force is cool. It can help us blow up Death Stars, help us grab our lightsabers. But in this scene for me, the Force became a character in the series. Luke stands up, he's like, you're asking the impossible, Yoda. He walks away, and then Yoda quiets his mind. He gets his hand up, and Yoda, this little 3-foot tall Muppet, raises this giant X-Wing fighter out of the water. Luke goes up to him and he's like, I had no idea. And then Yoda just tells him, that is why you failed. Oh, I'm getting chills thinking about it right now, guys. One of my favorite scenes in movie history. So finally, Luke and Leia, they get out of their asteroid field, they get to Cloud City, and they run into Lando Calrissian. Lando's awesome. He walks up to Han, he's all, how you doing, you old pirate? Hey, Chewbacca, you still hanging around with this weirdo? Then he sees Leia, and he's all, hello, what do we have here? Oh, you definitely belong with us among the clouds. So they're hanging with Lando, it's pretty tight, but you kind of get the feeling soon after something's not right in this Cloud City. Sure enough, Darth Vader showed up because Boba Fett, one of Darth Vader's bounty hunters, traced them to Cloud City, and Lando turns Han, Leia, Chewie, and C-3PO over to Darth Vader. There's that sweet scene when the doors open, Darth Vader's just sitting at that really nice table. Right when the doors open, Han just pops out his blaster, just shooting Darth Vader in the face, and then Darth Vader force grabs the blaster, and he's all, we would be honored if you would join us. And then Vader starts torturing Han. When Han gets back to his jail cell, he tells Leia, they didn't ask me any questions. Which is so cool. I mean, Vader doesn't want to know where the rebel base is. He doesn't want to know what Han's in it for. All he cares about is that if he's torturing Han Solo, Luke Skywalker's going to get visions of that, and then Luke Skywalker's going to go to Cloud City. Again, everything that Darth Vader does in this movie is to get to Luke Skywalker. Luke does get those visions. Yoda's trying to discourage him. He's like, don't go. You're only going to make it worse. Even Obi-Wan shows up. He's like, dude, don't do it. Stay here. Your friends are going to be fine. But Luke doesn't listen. He goes off to Cloud City to go save his friends. Vader's plan ultimately is to deliver Luke to the Empire by freezing him and carbonite so that he can transport him. And this leads into another one of my favorite scenes in movie history that's in The Empire Strikes Back. He wants to test out the carbonite freezing thing first, because if Luke dies, that's going to be kind of awkward for him. So he decides to test it on Han Solo. Why not? So Lando brings them all down into the freezing chamber, and Lando tells Han, you're going to be put into carbon freezing. So you hear someone go, put him in the chamber. And all of a sudden, Chewie starts freaking out. He's throwing stormtroopers off the platforms. He's screaming. He's yelling. Han goes to him and he's like, look, Chewie, this isn't going to help me. Listen to me. The princess, you have to look after her. You hear me? And right then, Han and Leia, they look at each other at what might be the last time that they ever see each other, and they embrace that moment. They kiss, and then when Han's about to get frozen, Leia looks at him, and she finally tells him, I love you. And then Han looks at her and says, I know. One of the greatest moments in movie history. And then Han is sinking into the carbonite chamber. This vat of steam just comes up. When it clears, all you see is Darth Vader's face. The Imperial March, the iconic theme played during this movie, starts playing again, and you're just like, the Empire's won. They struck back with a vengeance. After that, Lando helps Chewie, Leia, and C-3PO escape Cloud City, but right when Luke arrives, and Luke shows up in that freezing chamber, and it's all quiet, and then all of a sudden, you just hear Darth Vader's breathing, and it's so cool. Luke turns around, you just see Darth Vader's silhouette, and all he says is, the Force is with you, young Skywalker, but you were not a Jedi yet. Another one of my just absolute favorite lines in movie history. And like I said earlier, Empire Strikes Back doesn't end with a big explosive finale. However, the lightsaber fight between Luke and Vader in this movie is still my favorite lightsaber fight in the history of Star Wars. And I do think it's more interesting and more entertaining than the fight in the original Star Wars between the Death Star and the Rebels. Because the emotion is all there. Luke pops out his lightsaber first. He's completely not ready for this fight. He's fighting Vader. Vader's one hand blocking all his moves. You can tell through a lot of the fight, Vader's just kind of toying with him when he's using the Force to throw those boxes at Luke. And at that point, Luke is just dead tired. He's swinging at nothing, doing whatever he can. He blasts out of a window. But then there's that sweet moment when Luke is walking through the tunnel. It's all quiet. And then Vader just pops around the corner. He's swinging hard now. He's breathing hard. He's like, all right, playtime's done. This is business now. Vader pins Luke on the ground. He tells him, don't let yourself be destroyed as Obi-Wan did. Luke doesn't listen. He pops up, and then Vader slices Luke's hand right off. And I love this dialogue that happens right after between Vader and Luke. Vader's telling him hey, join me. We can rule the galaxy together. And Luke is still putting up a fight, which is really cool, even though he's clearly lost this fight. And that's when Vader's just like, all right, you know what? Here we go. And that's when you get the big reveal, one of the biggest reveals in cinematic history, where Vader says, I am your father. Which is a line that even if you haven't seen Star Wars or any of the Star Wars movies, you still know that line. It's just an iconic, it's a cultural thing at this point. And I love how even after the movie ends, there's still a part of you, if you've never seen Star Wars before, there's still a part of you that's like, was Vader lying? At least it was for me. The first time I saw that movie, I was like, is Vader telling the truth? But he is. He's Luke's dad. After that, Luke has nothing. He's lost his hand, his best friend is being sold to a gangster. He finds out the most evil dude in the whole galaxy is his dad, so what does he do? He lets go of that pipe that he's holding on to, and he drops down. Luke tried to kill himself. But because we have to make more sequels, he lands on this little TV antenna thing underneath Cloud City. Leia senses that they have to go back for him. The first time you kind of get the sense Leia might be Force sensitive. So Leia and Lando, they go back in the Falcon, they go and get Luke, and then they're escaping Cloud City. They finally fix the hyperdrive in the Millennium Falcon, and they make it out of there by the skin of their teeth. So at the end of the day, not quite the happy ending that we got with the first movie. Empire Strikes Back is a lot darker, a lot more thought-provoking. To me, it really made the Force into a living, breathing character. It fleshed out all of our characters more: Luke, Leia, Han, Darth Vader especially. And it ends on a note where our heroes are kind of unsure of what's going to happen in the future. They're staring off into that galaxy or whatever. I actually really like the music at the end of the movie when the camera's panning out of that shuttle into the rest of space. But you just have Luke, Leia, C-3PO, and R2-D2. They're staring off and they're like, we don't know what's going to happen next. We're kind of in a terrible spot right now. Because at this point, Star Wars has been solidified. They know that they can leave their audience on a cliffhanger. They know they're going to get a part 3. And with that dark ending comes the ending to one of the greatest sequels, one of the greatest movies of all time. If you've never seen a Star Wars movie, it's worth it to watch the series just so you can watch The Empire Strikes Back. Watch the movie, know the movie, love the movie, it's fantastic. But if you have seen The Empire Strikes Back, let me know what you think of it down in the comments. And thank you so much for watching this video. If you guys liked it, you can click subscribe and check out some of my other videos, and I'll catch you guys next time.